I figured today it would be kind of light, and I'll just leave it open for you guys to ask me some questions here. Alright, so Celso is asking, I don't get any result when I combine the inflection of RSI and the RSI being above 75 and below 25. I use the Renko and an RSI 5.2. Alright, Celso, that's a pretty simple one. Alright, so we'll drop the RSI on our chart and BloodHound. Alright, so Celso, I'm just going to use the default 14.3 settings. Alright, so the first thing I should do is give this template a name. Alright, we have a name. Alright, so Celso's question is, I wish I could copy and paste the question. So let me put some lines on here to demonstrate. So he's wants an inflection when the RSI is above 75. So you know what? It doesn't look like there's much above 75. So I'm going to modify this to be 70. So I'm marking 70 there, and let me also mark 25. Let's see, 25. It looks like we really don't get below 35, so how about if I'll just mark 40? And of course you can modify these numbers, the 70 and 40 number. So alright, so when you're wanting to know when an indicator, is above a fixed value, which is a threshold, right? So this line here represents a threshold level. So you're wanting to know when your indicator gets above the 70 threshold or below the 40 threshold. So when you're working with a fixed value, consider that as a threshold, as a threshold solver. Alright, so let's plug the RSI into the indicator here. Oh, it looks like Jeremy's borrowing the data feed there. And alright, so I'm just using the default periods here just to keep this simple. Alright, and we're working with the RSI plot for long and short. And so this is one common thing that people do, because who likes to read instructions, right? But if you go to the documentation, you'll read, if you go to the documentation, you'll read that you gotta make sure that your threshold values are in descending order. So in other words, the lowest number has to be at the bottom and the highest number has to be at top. So we're dealing with the 70 and we're dealing with the 40 value. And so I take it we're probably looking for a short when we're above 70. We're probably looking for a short signal. And so let's go down here to the short output. And so when we're at 70 or greater, we want a 1 on the short output. Right? We want an output here. And then for the long output, when we're at 40 or less, so then we're interested in a long output. So let me put some ones in here like so. Okay, so now you can see on my chart we're starting to get some signals here. So you'll notice that the RSI right here, let me stretch this out a little bit. Right, the RSI didn't quite get to 70, but yet we're getting a signal. Right, and that's because of BloodHound's threshold level here. Right, so that's because, you know, remember BloodHound has this fuzzy logic component, and so right now our threshold levels are set to 0.8. Our long and short thresholds are set to 0.8. Right, this is NinjaTrader's indicator window. Right, this is my list of indicators on the chart. So if we're looking at BloodHound, we have these threshold values here. And so if we look at BloodHound's output right here, let me just mark this guy. Right, we can see the output exceeded our threshold. So what we're asking BloodHound to do is say, you know, when the indicator gets within 80% or that 0.8 threshold value, that's when that's good enough to take a trade. But in this situation, we probably don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in another 70 here, and this effectively cancels that threshold component out. And I need to modify my long output now, right? Because now it says at 70, and I don't want a long output when we're at 70. And let's see, let me wipe that out for the long. Alright, so there we go. So now it's working a little more, now it's working exactly the way we want it, right? So our RSI is above our 70 and below our 40. So we got this component working, right? Now we just need to isolate when we get the inflection. So I can just drop the inflection down here and plug in our indicator of choice. In other words, plug in the RSI, and bingo, we're done. All right. So now I've been just working on the solver tab to keep it simple. So if I wanted to work on the logic board, let me drop those down here. Hopefully you guys had noticed that I didn't name my solvers, which I should always do. And I like to kind of shorten the names here. And now on the logic board, we just join both of these together with an AND node. And there we go. Now it looks nice and clean. Alright, so I hope that answered your question. Looks like it did. Okay, good. Alright, let me kind of scan through some more questions here. I'm asking, how can we limit the amount of trades it takes? Say after 3 trades in one direction to stop and wait till it changes direction, then it can take another 3. Alright, Adam, yeah, actually Adam, I already covered that in a workshop earlier this year. So, alright, so what I did is I just jumped onto YouTube here, and YouTube has a great search tool. So let's see here. So you want to put your search criteria in. You want to start with BloodHound Workshop, and that filters out the BloodHound gang that seems to dominate here on YouTube. And let's see, how about I'll just search for trades and see what pops up here. Alright, so here's one allowing only one trade per direction, but you're wanting to allow multiple, and so I did another workshop that expanded upon this one. Alright, I'm going to change my search criteria here. Maybe not trades, but let's try signals. Here we go. So Adam, I think this is what you're looking for. Isolating the first 3 signals per day. So I think that logic there. Oh, here we go. Now this is the one that you want here. Adam, isolating the first, second, or third trend signal. Right? So you can limit the number of signals per trend direction, and then when the trend changes, so if you take, you know, the third long signal in a row, and then when the trend changes to a short signal, this logic here will then allow you to take, you know, up to 3, or, you know, you can adjust the logic in here to limit however many you want. So Adam, this will get you in the ballpark there. Alright, so Celso is asking, is there a way to show in the market analyzer when a signal fired and how long ago? And how long ago? You know, Celso, that one part of your question, to know if you can see how long ago a signal fired, that would be a question for NinjaTrader. As far as I know, that's not what the market analyzer does. I'm pretty certain that the market analyzer only works in real time, and it only shows you in real time what is happening. So Celso, I don't think Market Analyzer has that capability. I think the only way you can look at the historical signals firing, you know, and how long ago they fired is really just on a chart, since you can see, you know, since you can look back in time on these bars. So Jarnell, it looks like you're just making a statement. I'm not sure exactly what your question is, but it looks like your question is regarding, you know, Renko charts and how they synchronize. And so I did do a workshop video kind of explaining how NinjaTrader works in trying to synchronize a higher time frame chart. And also I did videos on how synchronizing with a lower time frame chart works. So I kind of explained some of the background working of NinjaTrader and trying to synchronize your bars. So let me just do a search in YouTube here for sync. So yeah, so Jarnell, this video right here, the synchronizing higher time frame Renko charts, it's probably the video you're wanting to watch to understand how all that synchronization works. And I know I did several other workshop videos. This one is pretty much dedicated to synchronizing Renko charts, but every once in a while I seem to mention it in other workshop videos. You know, so I'm just going to scan through some of these titles and see. Oh yeah, so here's a workshop where I talk about using a lower time frame chart and kind of and how NinjaTrader is able to deal with synchronizing to a lower time frame chart as well. So Jarnell, I hope these two videos ought to help you get a better understanding of that. Alright, let's see. So Celso's asking, if you have time, can you show how to use BloodHound with the market analyzer? Just something simple. There's only one video on the subject. Yeah, I guess Celso, there's actually two workshops, but the first one was done a long time ago when good descriptions were not being put on there. So there is another earlier video. It's probably over a year old, probably close to a year and a half old, that's up there, but it's probably not findable because I don't think there's a good description. So yeah, so let me kind of go into that, and so let's bring up a market analyzer here, and let's load an instrument. So I'm not actually going to get this to work because I don't have a data feed right now, but I'll show you how to get BloodHound in here. So let's see, columns, go into columns, and then what we want to add is an indicator, right? BloodHound is an indicator. So we'll put the indicator on here, and so if we wanted this to coincide, right, so for our data series, if we want this to coincide with one of your charts, like this 5 range, obviously I need to switch this over to a range. And you know, as far as this number of bars look back, I think you want to keep it at least 50, but depending on your BloodHound logic, you know, if your BloodHound logic, if you're, for some reason, if you're using a displacement value that's greater than 50, or maybe something like SI chameleon, if you have a look back that's greater than 50, then you know you'll want to increase this oops, not that one. You want to increase this number of bars to look back a little further. And let's see, the next thing to do once you get your data series set up, but I say, you know, for the most part, 50 is probably fine. For I've never really seen a system that needs more than 50 bars look back. Okay, so the next step is to come down here to the indicator section, and you'll just need to switch this over to BloodHound. And yep, there we go. So that was interesting. As soon as I was on this list, and as soon as I hit S, it just instantly jumped to BloodHound and selected it. So now that we have BloodHound selected, you'll see that some extra fields open up here. Some extra fields become available. Right, so the first step is you'll need to load up your template. And how about if I just load up a test template? I wonder if I have one here. Let's see, not that one. Let's see, what is this one? Looks like it's just a simple crossover test or something. Yeah, looks like just some test signal there. And let's see, what else might, if you're so when you're running this template on your chart, if you have modified your threshold values here, right? So if you've modified your threshold values, you'll want to modify them also. Make sure that they match in the market analyzer. And yeah, that's right. So here's one thing to note. The market analyzer only allows you to analyze one plot at a time. So you'll see that you have a long and a short confidence to choose from. So right, so what's going to happen is that one of these columns here is only going to show me the long confidence, and I would have to set this all up again in order to be able to see the short confidence. Right, so remember these plots here is, right, this short signal is the short confidence plot. That's what this short signal is here on the chart. It's the short confidence plot. And of course when you get a long signal, it's this confidence long plot. Excuse me, I had the hiccups there. So then once you go in and select which plot you want to analyze, so if we're looking at the long plot, then you can go in and set up your alerts. Let's see. Let's see, alert condition. Actually, hold on. I think most people like to use the cell conditioning, so you can change the color of the cell. Yeah, here we go. So I could go in, let's see, for the background. So I could make the background right of my market analyzer, change it to green. I'll just put lime in there, and if it most likely you want to change this to be is greater than or equal, right? And then typically you'll want to put your threshold value in there, so 0.8. Of course you could put custom text in here, so something like that. So the market analyzer tells you when you get a long signal. And let me just throw OK. And here we go. So you can see right now the market analyzer is getting no output value, no long, I should say no, there's no long signal or no long output value there. So there you go. So that's just kind of a quick demonstration of how you get the market analyzer set up for using BloodHound. All right, let me go through some of these. So Randy is saying that, I think Randy's saying that the market analyzer will not work using simulated data feed. That's too bad. You know, I think I have time to just kind of quickly show you something that you might find useful here. So I had the question came in. I guess I should put this in writing first. So let me, hopefully I get this right. So the question was written something like this: a higher high of 5 bars ago. So that's the highest high of 5 bars back. You wanted to know if that was, I can't remember if it was smaller or greater, but we'll just say smaller than the higher high of 10 bars ago. What this is saying is that we want to know what the highest high is of 5 bars back. And then this one is wanting to know what the highest high is of 10 bars back. So my solution for this was to use chameleon. So let me throw one chameleon on here. And it's pretty simple to do, so we'll work on this looking 5 bars back first. Right, so we just set this to 5, set our look back to 5. And right, I have my plots customized a little different than the default. So we're going to look at the high and the low bounds. Just hold on a sec. Let me turn that. I think that was the midpoint. No. Typical? No. Oh, it's the close. Alright, let me turn the close transparent. There we go. Alright, so you can see the red hashes are identifying the lowest low going 5 bars back, and the green hash is identifying the highs going 5 bars back. Right, so that's how you can identify the highest high, look at 5 bars back, and of course if we want to look for the highest high going 10 bars back, we'll just simply add another chameleon. And I will change the plot style on this so you can identify them. So I'll change this to a dot. And oh, I forgot to change our look back. Let's set that to 10. There we go. Alright, so I have one chameleon set to a look back of 5, and the other chameleon set to a look back of 10 here. So clearly we can see that as price is moving up, you know, the look back, the 5 look back, you know, for the lows, you know, obviously the 5 look back is trailing up faster than the 10 10 look back. And let's look for a little, I need to find a downtrend. There we go. So here's a downtrend. So like in this downtrend, we can see here on this particular bar that the higher high of 5 bars back is lower than the higher high of 10 bars back, represented by the dots. And so then the next step, now that we kind of have the indicators set up correctly, now we can have BloodHound do this greater than or less than comparison here using the comparison solver. Right? So the comparison solver is essentially doing like these greater than or less than type of comparisons. Right? So let's set that comparison up real quick, and then I think we'll just end it right there and take off early for Christmas break. Alright, so I'll throw a comparison solver on here. Actually, wait, I'm just gonna, since I already have other stuff in here, let me make a new logic template, and we'll call this higher, let's see, higher high 5 less than higher high 10. So what I'll do is I'll add a new comparison solver on here. And let's connect that up. And so indicator A, I'm going to make that our faster moving indicator, which would be the chameleon set to 5. Oops. There we go, chameleon. I want to set this to 5, and so now we just have to determine, when when this higher high of 5 bars is less than the higher high of 10 bars. I don't know, do we want a long signal or a short signal? And I don't know, I'll go for a short signal, I guess. And so when we're comparing the low points, then we'll get a long signal here. So the high plots will be used to give us a short signal, and the low plots will be used to give us a long signal. Alright, next step is let's change indicator B over to the chameleon, and we'll set it to our look back of 10, and I need to set the plots up the same here, right? So the lows are going to give us a long, and the high plots are going to give us a short. And there we go. Yeah, that does it. So we can see here when the low plots, when the 5 look back period is stepping up, is greater than the 10, we're getting our long signals. And then we can see here when the higher high of 5 bars back, right, which is the hash plot, when it is less than the higher high of 10 bars, we're getting our short signal. Alright, well, with that, guys, I don't see any other questions coming in. So I'll say have a Merry Christmas,